Well, we've done it. We've made it to the end of October, so that means we need to talk about the books that we read in October. Specifically, the books that I read, because I don't know what you read unless you tell me what you read down below, but that is for later. Anyway, before we get started in that, I would like to say hello, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new here. I am Jen, and this is Bookmark by Jen. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment what you read for October down below. I got through 7 books this month, which, hoorah to me. I am so proud of myself. I stuck to my TBR. I don't know, well, actually, I do know. So I talked about it in my November TBR, which I will pop up here and leave down below. But I actually thought about what books I was putting on this TBR. They were not only books that were on my TBR, but books that I had been wanting to read. I wanted to read a couple darker things for spooky season. I also really just thought about what type of mood I was in and what I really wanted to read. So when I finished a book and I get that anxiety of what book should I pick up now, I want to stay on the path that I am. I want to get another 4 or 5 star read, and then the anxiety hits in of what if I, it really gets this whole vicious cycle with myself. But I didn't do that this month because I knew exactly what I was going to read. I had these books here for my TBR, and I just picked which one that I wanted to read next, and it really worked out. I finished them all. I even jumped ahead a little bit, and we'll get there at the very end. But yeah, it worked out. So I did the same thing for November, and I'm really excited to go pop over. Well, finish watching this video and then go pop over to my November TBR, which I will leave down below for you, and see what I have planned for November. Okay, let's get into what I read. So the first book that I picked up was All the Missing Pieces by Catherine Cowles. I finally did it. I finally read a book by Catherine Cowles. I am amazed. So I talked about this before. I figured what better way to dive into this big author, but who also has a huge backlist, than to maybe start out with a standalone and see how I liked her. Really, really liked her writing. Definitely want to pick a series next year to kind of dive into hers, and I have already gotten the Sparrow Falls. I think I might have 2 books in that series, but I figure I already have those, so maybe start with that. But I got 1 book out of the way. So I read All the Missing Pieces, which is kind of like a romantic suspense. I loved all of the little nuggets that were in the synopsis of this book. So you've got Ridley, who drives around in this adorable VW bug that she's pimped the fuck out, doing a podcast. She's very well known for her podcast, and she does true crime, but she has helped solve a lot of mysteries that she has come across, whether it's just getting the local authorities back involved or giving them a little snippet of something that helps them along with the case, or just blowing a case wide open. She has definitely done her due diligence, and she sets herself apart from the other podcasters because she understands what it's like to infiltrate somebody's life who's been in a who's had something traumatic happen to them. She herself is a twin. She lost her twin some years back to what she believes is a serial killer, and that brings us to the story. So she enters this small town because she's done so much research that she thinks that she has pinpointed the very first victim of who she believes, some type of serial stalker, kidnapper, who he has escalated over the years. And she's done, like I said, so much research that she has kind of created this timeline of this man and of the similarities that she sees that really stand out to her of this guy is a serial whatever. He has escalated to murder at this point, but I think I found the very first victim. And I think with her help and some other things, I could really break this wide open. So that's why she's in this town, but she is hitting a roadblock, and that roadblock is Mr. Colt, who just so happens to be the sheriff and the brother of her would-be first victim. The grumpiness of Colt is just fantastic. Ridley, I just think she's just amazing. I really enjoyed her character. Her being on her own and doing everything that she's doing, creating this thing that has really, really helped other people, and she has really touched other people's lives by being the way that she is, and by understanding delicacies of walking into somebody's life who has been through a tragedy, and she does it so delicately because she has that inner workings. I really, really enjoyed this book. I went back and forth of who done it, but then I just gave up and was like, you know what? I think I know who it is, but I'm just really enjoying the story at this point. I gave this book a 4 stars, and I believe I gave it like maybe a 1 for spice. I don't know, but I really enjoyed it. The next book I read, I was actually going to wait till a little bit further on in the month, but I really wanted to read it. So I picked it up secondly, and that was Obsession by Harley Beck. This is about a serial killer who is on death row for killing, that we know of, 14 women. And, well, he's just not a nice guy. So, I mean, it even says in the beginning of the book, but like, this isn't like a romance book. I mean, it's a romance book, but it's not your conventional romance book. So, know that going in, if you want to read it, check your triggers. And not only are there triggers, but like, if you don't like gore, if you don't like grotesque things, I would maybe not pick this up, because there's some stuff. I, of course, was all for it. That's what I broke my teeth in with psychological thrillers and murder mysteries and all that type of stuff. Like, the gruesome, the better, in my opinion. There could be something wrong with me. I don't know, but I really enjoyed it. I can't really tell you too much about this book because I don't really want to give anything away. There is a significant age gap between Robbie and Savannah. Robbie basically could be Savannah's father. Savannah is very new to journalism. She is a journalistic reporter. Robbie has decided to tell his story, and maybe even tell where some of his victims are laid to rest, because not all of his victims have been found. So, for peace of mind for the families, to be able to get closure, Savannah is willing to go and talk to this death row inmate. But here's the catch: Robbie will only talk to Savannah. He chose her specifically. So you're wondering, like, why? That's what I like. Why? There's something special about her. What is it? And there is a lot of twists and turns. There are many puzzles that come together. Some puzzles just are made and do a little parallel path with this book. There is a lot going on in this book. Immediately when Savannah meets Robbie, she is very, I don't want to say like just intrigued by him, but there is this like need to want to know more about him, want to be around him. She's scared of him, as she should be, but she's very just very intrigued. I guess that's the best word that I can come up with right now. Very intrigued by him, and he becomes very obsessed with her. I really cannot say much more. Anything else that I say will give something away, and I don't want to do that, because this is the type of book that you do want to go into with not knowing that much. But their connection is very, very strong from the get-go. And I was also, maybe that is my problem from reading a lot of mysteries and psychological thrillers, but a lot of times when I read stuff like this, I get into my head, I overanalyze it. I think everybody is deceiving everybody. Sometimes that is the truth. Sometimes that leads me astray. But there was just so many twists and turns in this. And if you know anything about serial killers and how they stalk, and their hunting grounds, it was just very good. I will tell you though that I gave it a 4 stars. I gave it I think I gave it like a 3 for spice. Moving on, my next read, I knew was going to be emotional, and I was ready to get that emotional read out of the way. Wasn't quite for sure about everything else throughout the rest of the month, but I knew that was going to be emotional, and I had been meaning to read it, so I did, which was The Wrong Heart by Jennifer Hartman. Oh my gosh. From start to finish, the ending of this book was just like, how dare she? I was not prepared for the ending of this book. I was already in tears. I was already in tears from the very first chapter. Like, the first couple pages, she had me tearing up, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I knew it was going to be emotional, but good God. And then to the very end, I just was like, how dare you? But also, yeah. Okay, so Parker and Melody. Where do I even start? So Melody loses her husband in a horrific tragedy and is shattered. I mean, this was her life, her soulmate, her everything. And understandably, she is shattered. She does not know how to go on. How do you continue life? What do I do? She doesn't handle a lot of things very well, and she wants to reach out to the person who has her husband's heart. And she knows that that's not probably the best thing to do, but she just wants to know that his heart is out there. It's the only piece that she has left of him, wants to know that it's out there and like living its best life. So there's that part of the story. Then there's a part of the story where Melody decides to go to some type of group therapy where she meets a cast of characters that, like at some points this book, especially when they were in like the group therapy scenes, it reminded me of 28 Days. I'm not saying that this was 28 Days, but it was like in the same vein of that crazy cast of characters. Sometimes those scenes reminded me of those moments in that movie. But going to this therapy group, she meets Parker, who is just completely uninterested to be there. He's grumpy, he's gloomy, he's aloof, he doesn't care about anything. Why is he even there, you ask? But there's something about him that Melody finds intriguing. She has always been the sunshine. That is what her husband always called her. She was his sunshine. She could always make somebody smile. She brought the sun into any room that she was in, and she sees something in Parker and kind of just like nicks herself into his life. Of course, he fights her tooth and nail the whole way. She gets through to him, and they have this back and forth thing going on, and then they kind of form a friendship, and then it becomes more, and that's really all I'm going to say about that, because there are some spoilers, and I'm not going to spoil that for you, but it's a very emotional book. It continues to be emotional from start to finish. It grasped me like Jennifer Hartman always does. She is an amazing storyteller. If you want a good cry, if you want a good read, definitely recommend The Wrong Heart. I gave this one a 4.5 stars, and I believe I gave it a 2 stars for Spice. My next book of the month is a first book of a trilogy. It is a dark romance, and it is a dark romance, some very dark themes, so definitely check your triggers. It's going to end on a cliffhanger because it is a part of the trilogy, so that typically means cliffhanger. When I say triggers, I mean I just want to, like, it deals with some very sensitive issues. It also deals with religious issues, so if religion, dark themes depicting religion, and sensitive issues in the sexual manner, then I implore you to check those triggers. Don't go into something blind if you have triggers. Alright, so this is The Maiden by Celia Aaron. Oh my. So this is like, what is another book? So it's like The Handmaid's Tale. There are some certain similarities between The Handmaid's Tale, but then it's like, I mean, pick a cult, any cult, and intertwine that with The Handmaid's Tale. And you've got this craziness. We start with Delilah and Adam. Delilah enters what is called the cloisters. It's a religious cult, but it's a church, to find out what happened to someone very close to her, her sister. So her sister is dead, but she wants to know how. How was she killed, and why? And what is going on here, because this just doesn't seem right. So she's going in knowing that this place is not good. She just doesn't know all of it, like all of what it entails, but she knows it's not good, unlike the other women that enter. These women enter as maidens, and there's like 12 of them that enter. They all get new names, so Delilah's not even her real name. I don't know what her name is yet. But like I said, they all enter, and then shit gets real strange. Each maiden is given a protector by the elusive, very charismatic, but absolutely insane prophet. He assigns them a protector, and these protectors do just that, but they are able to do certain things with these women. They just can't cross a specific line yet. And then there is a group called the Spinners, and these are other women who maybe have been a maiden at one time, or I don't know, something else. And they are the teachers. They teach you what to do and what not to do in the cloisters as a maiden. They discipline you very harshly, and then they show you how to please your protector, and then eventually maybe your husband if they marry you off to a prominent senator or somebody very prominent in the community. They're constantly being watched. And again, Delilah goes in here only for information, and she realizes very quick that it is not going to be as easy as maybe she had anticipated to find answers and to do some sleuthing. I mean, she is watched all the time. Her protector just so happens to be the eldest son of the prophet, Adam. But Adam, he sees something in Delilah. He sees a fire in her eyes that he hasn't seen in a long time, and so he switches with his other brother to get Delilah. And it's almost like he wants her to defy him. He wants her to be her own person, but yet he's been in this environment for so long that even though he thinks his father is absolutely insane, doesn't like his father at all, and his father is very hypocritical. Like, that man is, I can't wait to see what happens in books 2 and 3, because like, this man is just batshit crazy. But her and Adam do have a connection. It is growing. It is a very it's very slow to grow, but there is something there. And so I'm curious to see. I have my suspicions about what's going to happen from the cliffhanger from 1, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. Like, from what we've seen, it's only going to get worse, and that scares me for Delilah. I gave this book a 4. I gave it like a 2.5 or a 3 spice, because not because of everything that goes on between Adam and Delilah, but because of some of the other scenarios that involve sexual things in the book. Just check your triggers, please, and thank you. Next up, I decided to read our buddy read for the month a little bit early, and I read The Homemaker by Julie Ann. This is a dual POV and timeline. I will leave the live show up in a card and down below for you, so I'm not going to go too much into this, because if you go watch that, you can get all of our opinions on it. I loved this book. I was so, it had me like in a little bit of a chokehold. I couldn't put it down. It was so unique, and I think that's what I loved about it. It follows Alice and Murphy, and it goes back and forth between the present and the past. And the past is Alice and Murphy having spent time together in only 2 weeks, but it made such an impact in both of their lives. And so we get little snippets of that, but we also know that there is something that Alice is going through, and that comes out little by little in the past as well. So what was so unique about this is Alice takes a job with a very wealthy family, and I swear to God, it's like the wealthy are so absolutely insane, and they get away with crazy things. Like, if the non-wealthy try to get away with some of the things that the wealthy get away with, we would be locked up. But because they're wealthy, they're just eccentric. She takes a job as a housewife. So this wife hires Alice to be their housewife, more specifically her husband's housewife, because she just doesn't want to do it. And if I can afford to pay somebody else to do the domesticated things that I don't want to do and make my husband happy, while I make him happy in every other aspect of our lives, why not? So Alice dresses up as a 1950s housewife and just takes care of the husband. And I thought it was just, I mean, it was so quirky and so unique and so fun. Like, she gets paid very well. She stays in their guest house, so she doesn't have room and board. She's being paid very well to make breakfast and make dinner and make sure that his ties and his shirts and his pants are starched and pressed, and that he has whatever he wants, and reads him spicy stories during his little nap so that he can, get in the mood for his wife. It's coming up on summer, and their only daughter, is coming home with her fiance to plan the wedding and spend the summer with them. When she shows up with her fiance, Alice realizes that she knows the fiance, and the fiance is none other than Murphy. It gets a little interesting at that point, because Murphy is unaware, or I should say, Murphy doesn't quite know if Alice remembers him, because it was only 2 weeks. Now, he has never forgot her. She made quite an impact on him, but did he make the same impact on her? Does she remember him? Because it seems at first glance, at first meeting, that she does not remember him. And there you go. One of my favorite things, and I mentioned this in the live, the past and present back and forth. So we normally get like a past and present back and forth, and you get like little Easter eggs or whatnot in them. But what I found really interesting was we would be in the present and we would jump to the past. And in the present, either Alice or Murphy would talk about something, And you would get the sense of, or at least I would get the sense of that means something, that is very prevalent to their story, but you don't know what it is. You would just get some mention of something. And then in the next chapter, you would jump back to the past, and there it would be that mention of whatever. You would figure out the origin of that story, and you would get that little nugget of information. And I really enjoyed that. And that happened multiple times in the story, and I don't know, that really stood out to me. I really love this story. Definitely recommend, if you like Julie Ann books or have never read a Julie Ann book, this is a perfect standalone book to start with. I gave this one a 4.5 stars, and I gave it, I cannot remember off the top of my head, it was like either a 2 or a 2.5 stars. My next book of the month just so happened to be an ARC. This is Take My Love by Brooke Montgomery. It is the second book in the Willow Branch Mountain series, and I loved this book. It's my favorite so far of the series. It's only 2 books in the series so far, but it's definitely my favorite, and it's just so good. Okay, let me tell you about it. So it's between Posey and Silas. Posey has had a big crush on Silas for years. He just so happens to be her older brother's best friend. There's not a big age gap. I think it's like maybe 2 years. She doesn't realize that he has also had a crush on her, and their feelings merged one unforgettable night that just so happened to be her older brother's wedding. But then the next morning, there is some miscommunication and some misunderstandings, and they don't talk very much again for the next 2 years, when they are thrust together in a situation and their feelings emerge. And they clear up the misunderstanding, miscommunication from the day after the wedding. The next morning, more feelings are divulged, but there is no happily ever after, because then feelings are crushed. And then for the next 6 years, Posey is like no more to Silas, because I pined after him, I've crushed after him, I got him, I lost him, I told him finally how I felt, misunderstandings squashed, and then only to be crushed again. I just can't deal with him anymore, so I'm just going to say that I hate Silas and be done with him. I'm not communicating with him anymore. Cut to, it's 6 years later. Silas has been dumped by his fiance. He was working for her father, so now he's jobless, he's homeless, and he's got nothing. But he calls his best friend, and Warren says, yeah, I'm gonna help you out here. I'm gonna call Posey, and she'll give you a job at her goat farm, and she's got a spare room too, so we'll have you go stay with her. And Posey is not happy about that, if you can imagine, because she just doesn't want to be in the same vicinity as him, because then, feelings will emerge, because those feelings never went away. It's easier to hate somebody than to pine, right? So I can't be around him like that. He, has just gotten finer with age, right? As a good wine does. So they end up living together. He ends up working for her goat farm. She tries to put him through hell at the goat farm, but he's just such a likable, loving guy, and he takes all the punches. He rolls with it. She enlists him to help be the demonstrator at goat yoga. So, and he's never done yoga before, and then all of a sudden he's got, downward dog and a goat on top of his back, and the ladies, though, love it, which, of course, then Posey's like, well, that backfired on my end. When they get home, that's where the real fun begins, because Posey has a little problem when it comes to intimacy, and boyfriends and all that, and Silas is more than happy to help her with that problem. And this is where the fun begins, and Silas, the dirty talk was perfection. There's praise, there's teaching, there's like this really yummy like back and forth between them. It's just really good. I couldn't put it down. The way that he just knows what she needs. She doesn't know what she needs, but the way he knows what she needs, the way he talks her through everything, I just definitely one of my favorite books for the month. I loved their connection. I laughed out loud. I swooned. It was very good, very good. I gave this one a 5 stars. I gave it a 4 stars for spice, because there's a there's a lot of it in here. It is just overall perfection, and I loved it. Okay, so that brings me to my last book of the month, which just so happens to be one of the books that I put on my November TBR. Wasn't expecting to do this, but I was just in the mood to still read something. I had a few more days left in the month, and I was like, I think I can get through a book in the next couple days. We'll see how I do. I read this in one day. I couldn't put it down. And it's Stolen Dreams by Natasha Madison. This is the fourth book in her dream series. It's by Lila. It's between, I'm sorry, not by. It's between Lila and Emmett. He's a single dad, but he just found out he's a father. And Lila, she's just an amazing character. She had a really hard past. She was actually left for dead when she was 18 years old. And that brought her to the environment that she's in now. So she works at the equine ranch doing horse therapy. I think it's perfect for her, but like that was not, I think, the trajectory of her life was going to go until things happened to her when she was 18. Now, Emmett is super grumpy, super just, I mean, you would think that he hates Lila by the way that he snaps at her and tells her what to do all the time and tells her she's not doing anything right and all this. But then again, he watches her every move. So again, we go back to just like with Posey and Silas, it's easier to hate somebody than to tell you that I love you. It's just easier. I can't deal with those feelings, so I'm just going to pretend that I hate you, and that's where that comes in. But see, Lila has had a crush on him since she met him, and that was years ago. So Emmett gets a call in the middle of the night that a woman that he used to know years prior has passed away and left a daughter, and that daughter just so happens to be his daughter. And he's freaking out because he never wanted to be a father, never wanted to get married, just has some past demons where he was like, it's just better if those two things don't happen. So that's just not in the cards for me, which again is exactly why he's so grumpy and aloof and nasty to Lila, because I can't give her what she wants, so I might as well make her not like me. But Lila is just like, no, that's not gonna happen. Now, Lila and Lucy, his daughter, she is 8 years old, and she just lost her mom, which my heart just, it completely broke and went out to this little girl who has had to endure so much and then get shuffled to a man that she doesn't know. Now, granted, Emmett is so open with her, and there are struggles, yes, of course, but he is like, I've been in that position before, and this is why I didn't want to have a family, and this is why I didn't want to be married or anything like that. So I would never want her to go through what I did. So I'm going to do everything to protect her and give her what I never had. But like I said, those don't come without bumps and bruises, and that's where Lila comes in, and her and Lucy's relationship is such a natural progression that I fell in love with both of them. And then the way that she helps Emmett open up a little bit, it just, I think aside from my first book with Charlie and Autumn, this is like my second favorite of the series. I could not put it down. I love everything about it. I am so excited to get to the final book. Like, I'm sad to see this series end, but I'm so excited to get to the final book, which is actually Lila's best friend. So I'm actually reading that next because I wanted to read Stolen and Forgotten Dreams back to back. I of course will let you know in my November wrap up what I thought about that one. So for this one, I gave it a 5 stars, and I gave it like a 2 or 3 for spice. All right, and that is going to do it for my October wrap-up, you guys. Don't forget to let me know what you read in October. Did you read any good books? Did you read any bad books? Did you even read it all? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm going to catch you on my next video, which is going to be a little bit of a recommendation video. But until then, happy reading. Bye.